The day of reckoning is almost here. Conference Championship Sunday. 4 teams will walk into the day with hopes and dreams of going to the Super Bowl, but only 2 will punch their tickets to New Orleans. Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, Commanders. Who wants this thing the most? Let's talk about that. Today I'm going to give you a breakdown in my predictions for both the AFC and NFC Championship game. I'll talk about what I think the main win conditions are and generally who I'm favoring. So without further ado, let's get right into this thing. Let's start off with the NFC Championship game. The Eagles are hosting the Commanders, and I gotta admit, didn't expect this result. The Commanders going from a 4-win team 1 year prior to 1 win away from the NFC Championship. No matter what happens during this game, no matter the outcome, we all have to admit that it's very impressive how crazy of a turnaround this team has had. This is pretty well deserved for the fans, but they've got a tough matchup here against the Eagles. Philly, it hasn't been the greatest playoff run for them, but they've still managed to win games. The talent is there. You can't underestimate them no matter what you've seen in the Rams and the Packers games respectively. This is a tough ask for the Commanders. The Eagles have a tough defense, and Saquon as well has been tearing up the Commanders, and I'm sure he could definitely do it again. The dude's on the hot streak. He wants to get to the Super Bowl. This is a tough game for the Commanders. The only good news is it seems like they have the confidence to play Philly. They played them hard both times. The second one, I don't know how much you want to count it because Jalen Hurts did go down early with that concussion, but nonetheless, they did come back and win that game in one of their most impressive matches of the season offensively. Now, there's a couple of key factors that decide which direction this game goes. I think first and foremost, I gotta admit that I think the Eagles should be coming out on top. They should be the favorites in this one, and it's all due to the fact that the way their defense plays is a lot tougher than what Tampa or Detroit could offer. It felt like those guys could get good pressure off the edge, but it's pretty easy for an elusive guy like Jayden Daniels to avoid stuff like that. The real problem for most quarterbacks is that interior pressure. That's what's really scary. That's what oftentimes is hard to escape sacks from, makes it tougher to step up in the pocket. Sometimes those throws just don't end up being where they need to. And the Eagles happen to have Jalen Carter, who might just be the best D tackle in the NFL right now. He is an absolute beast, and he could be a real problem for Jayden. I'd like to see how Jayden Daniels can handle that. There's reason to believe that maybe he can. He can rise up to the occasion. He's shown that the doubters don't know anything about him. He proved me wrong as well with how he played against Detroit and Tampa as an underdog. Who's to say he can't do it again? I think it's very fair to say that, especially because the man really doesn't look like a rookie out there. It is unprecedented what Jayden Daniels is doing at the quarterback position in his first year. And that could be the key takeaway as to why the Commanders just win this game anyway, because of straight up better quarterback play. This dude seems like he is built for the spotlight. I don't know what else to say. After beating 2 really good teams in back-to-back weeks, the sky seems like it is the limit for this guy. The throws are always on the mark. He seems to always be able to take off and get those key yards downfield as a rusher. He makes a lot of great decisions while taking care of the ball. It seems like this guy is almost like a 10-year veteran to me when I watch him play. It's insane to think this guy's only in his first year in the league with how mature he looks on the football field, with his processing, with his decision making. He might just be the best quarterback in the NFC right now, and maybe that's going to propel him over such a tough Eagles defense. And I mentioned just being the better quarterback and how that can be a factor, and that could definitely end up being a super prevalent issue for Philly because Jalen Hurts went down with a bit of an injury in that game against the Rams. He finished the game. Seems like he'll be able to play on Sunday against Washington, but clearly it bothered him. It really depends on how much mobility he has and how comfortable he is going through his throwing motions on that bum knee. That's the big question, right? If he's anywhere close to 100%, then I think Philly are going to be in a good position. But if he's uncomfortable out there and they have to switch up their game plan and they have to heavily rely on the run even more than usual and they become one-dimensional, that could be the way that the Commanders get themselves into the lead and never look back. Just getting those key reads on a one-dimensional offense. Jalen doesn't have to make that many big throws in a game, but he's got to do a couple. It can't just be on Saquon. You can't rely on him to go for 60 yards every single drive. You've got to make the key throw every once in a while, and if he's not comfortable out there, and if he can't roll out because of that injury, it's going to be a real problem. Last year, Jalen played injured, and we saw a different version of him compared to when they went to the Super Bowl the year before that. He just looked uncomfortable. He was holding onto the ball too long. He was scared to roll out, and we could be in a very similar situation here. If Jalen doesn't look like himself, I'd be very concerned for Philly. He's hobbled, and the Commanders and their defense, while they aren't the greatest, they play hard. They play like animals. They hit like trucks. We saw it in the Bucs game. We saw it in the Detroit game. Those guys are flying to the football, and Jalen, if he takes one big hit because he holds onto the ball too long, that could really spell the end for Philly. If the Eagles get a slow start, that could be really worrisome. Their defense could keep them in the game, but not forever. Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, they tend to be very methodical with their drives. They eat up a lot of clock. They usually get some points on the board guaranteed, and over time, they're going to wear down the Philly defense. And if the Philly offense gets off to a slow start and they have to play from behind, and Jalen Hurts has to play hero ball when he's not 100%, we could see the Commanders going to the Super Bowl in one of the most improbable runs in NFL history. But if Jalen can at least be kind of healthy, he can put up some points, make a couple of big throws, then this might go the other way instead. And the main reason that I'd be worried about the Commanders if the Eagles offense can get it going is because of the fact that, unlike Detroit and unlike Tampa Bay, the Eagles don't make a lot of mistakes. They take care of the football, just like Washington do. And that's where the problems arise. The big reason the Commanders made it to this point, I'm not trying to hate on them, is because they've capitalized consistently on the other team's mistakes. The key fumble by Baker, the horrible interceptions in Detroit's game, that is what led them to a victory. Philly take much, much better care of the ball because of their strategy. And that's where I think that the Commanders could end up falling short. I feel like the Eagles are just so disciplined outside of a couple of minor penalties with the O-line here and there, and that's why I think the Commanders will fall short. I'm going to believe in the Eagles as the better team, as the ones with a lot of countermeasures to Washington, with that interior rush and taking care of the football, and they're going to win this game. I have the Eagles winning 24-20. Let's talk about the AFC Championship. Buffalo versus Kansas City, what is it now, part 4 in the postseason? This is literally just the new Brady versus Peyton, except we're hoping that Josh Allen can, for once, be Peyton in this story and get the win over Tom Brady and make it to the Super Bowl for the first time in his career. He's following a similar path to Peyton. They're like in the same number of years up until this point, so I don't know, man. Maybe this could be the time that Buffalo takes it, but they've got to be the underdogs in this one. You know, the Chiefs, they don't always play the greatest. You might even argue Buffalo have been the better team overall this year. They've been more impressive, but the Chiefs have had their number literally for years now in this Mahomes versus Josh Allen era. And just like with Philly, but to a much greater extent, no matter how bad it looks like the Chiefs play, no matter what the stats and the box score tells you, they find ways to win. And that's what scares me, because in the past, Buffalo always find ways to lose in these situations. It doesn't seem like a good pairing, hence why you've got to favor the Chiefs, especially at home. I brought it up last week, and you best believe I'm bringing it up again here. The Chiefs, they were saving themselves for this moment in the playoffs. It didn't look the greatest in the game against the Texans. I mean, literally, by all the metrics, the Texans were better. They had like more yards in all the different categories, but still lost. But the Chiefs just love to turn it up against Buffalo, and they just might do it again here. Mahomes, it doesn't seem like he has a lot of weapons, but in my opinion, definitely does. Travis Kelce looked like a beast against Houston. He'll probably do it against Buffalo. Xavier Worthy, easy one-play touchdown machine. You've got a reliable player like D-Hop out there. The Chiefs are a tough team, man. I don't know if Buffalo can do it, just knowing the history and everything. The only benefit of the doubt that I'll give Buffalo in this situation is, one, the Chiefs' defense did not look all that impressive in the Houston game. They don't look as powerful as they did in years past. But two, if there was ever a time for the Bills to change their fate, it'd probably be now. We've been saying it for weeks now, but the Chiefs are so unbelievably due for a fat L. They've gotten lucky so many times. They've just scraped by so many times. There's been some BS calls. We've heard it all at this point, and their only losses to Buffalo as well. I mean, if not now, then when for this team? The Bills, this is the perfect time to strike. You know you can beat Kansas City. They really aren't that good despite what their record says. And the Bills themselves, they're different compared to previous iterations, at least on the surface, with their play style, with who they're playing around, with who they look up to. There's more camaraderie with this team. They're spreading the ball well. They can run the ball well. And that Chiefs defense really isn't that great this season. So maybe the Bills can make this happen. I could see a world. The Chiefs are going to be the inevitable favorites because of the history and because they're at home. But Buffalo, I think this is probably their best opportunity to make the improbable a reality. The last time they played KC, they beat them convincingly. I like the way Josh Allen is playing right now. He's not making a ton of mistakes. I thought they kind of let their foot off the gas in the Baltimore game last weekend, which could be a bit problematic. You need to play a complete game against Kansas City, but if Joshy Boy can make the heroic plays and not do anything stupid like we've been seeing this year, they just might be getting past the Chiefs this time. I don't love Buffalo's defense either, but the thing is, the Chiefs offense don't put up a lot of points. Their run game is absolutely not as strong as last year because of that whole Pacheco injury. He's not what he used to be. They're still ramping him back up. This won't be like playing against Derrick Henry, who you have to admit they did a really good job of containing for the most part. This is so doable for Buffalo, man. They match up well. They've beaten them. There's so many things that line up that tell you they can make this happen. The Chiefs are so beatable. But in my heart, I just can't pick the Bills to win. I desperately want them to, because, I mean, who doesn't if you're not a Chiefs fan? But I don't see it, man. History tells me they're going to lose to this team again. There's been nothing but pain in Buffalo. And like with Philly, again, the Chiefs, they just have this way of winning. It feels like a three-peat is inevitable. They don't even feel like the best team in the league to me, but they're going to find a way anyway. They're just the team of destiny to me, man. They're boring. There's so much BS that goes on with them, but Mahomes, in the final hour, I'm sure he's going to find a way to like put up 30 for no reason in this game, and he's going to break Buffalo fans' hearts yet again. As for a final score, I'll say the Chiefs win 30-28, maybe on some kind of game-winning field goal or touchdown, because that's just what they like to do. They love to break Buffalo's hearts. Honestly, I'm not that confident in either of my picks this week. This one may be even harder than Philly versus Washington, just because I feel like these two match up so well. There's so much of the history between these quarterbacks. They're both so capable. They don't make a lot of mistakes. Both defenses aren't that great. I think that one side has a better run game than the other. It's tough to call. Buffalo need to play flawlessly. You know, I need to see Josh Allen play some hero ball. He needs to pick up some big yards with his legs, and I need to see them get the run game going. I want Pat Mahomes to be ice cold in this game. That's going to be the key for Buffalo. They need to have good, methodical drives with some explosive plays. They need to have the run game going from start to finish. If they want to beat Kansas City, that's going to be the key. James Cook and Josh Allen need to wear those guys out. But again, though, man, KC, it doesn't even matter what I say about them. It's just that dumb voodoo magic, that will to win because of Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid. Also, I trust Steve Spagnuolo with my life as that defensive coordinator to make a key stop or two against Buffalo, make something go wrong for those guys. They'll find a way to win this game. Maybe it'll be through some heavy blitz packages. Maybe Mahomes will just play his best game of the year. I don't know what it is, but something tells me we're going to be very disappointed as usual, because that's just the type of chokehold that the Chiefs have over the NFL right now. So when it's all said and done, I'm unfortunately going with the most boring result imaginable, with Philly taking on KC in the Super Bowl. I'm praying it is literally the polar opposite. As a Giants fan, I can't win because either the Commanders or the Eagles will make me very, very sad in the Super Bowl, but I'd rather see the Commanders than Saquon in the Super Bowl, and I'd love to see the Bills win because, I mean, how could you not feel bad for those guys? Hopefully I'm super wrong about those games, but that is my opinion. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, what your Preds are, your best bets. I'd love to hear them. And if you enjoy content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe for more weekly predictions. Peace out, guys.